Question for you. Have you ever looked at your donor list and wondered what happened? They used to give consistently and now they're gone. This happens in every organization and it is frustrating and often pretty confusing. You see, most donors don't stop giving because they stopped caring. They stopped giving because something in the relationship with you has changed. Today, we're going to talk about the most common reasons why donors disengage and what you can do differently to move forward. That is our focus on this episode. Let's huddle up. If you're leading a nonprofit, your mission is big, but your funding doesn't always match it. And if fundraising is falling on your shoulders without a clear path to major gifts, that gap doesn't close on its own. That's why I want to invite you to a free live training that I'm hosting Thursday, April 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern, called Big Mission, Bigger Gifts. I'm going to walk you through a clear relationship based approach to raising major gifts without pressure or without a development team. So if your mission needs bigger funding, don't wait on this. Register today by clicking the link below or visit thefundcoach.com. Hope to see you there. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fund Coach. I'm Mark Duncan. It is great to be with you today. And I'm excited to talk about this topic because we often talk about how to secure significant gifts. And yes, we do talk about the importance of relationships, but I haven't really tackled what happens or what you should do if you start to lose donors. And particularly with everything that's happening now, it might be something you want to pay very close attention to. Now, I'm not talking about the economy per se. I am talking about the overall climate right now, which could have an impact on fundraising in some way. Not directly, but indirectly. But here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what you can do to directly change this. Now, when this happens, when you start to lose donors or you notice that a donor has fallen off, hasn't given or hasn't given as much as they gave the year before, maybe you start to think, well, maybe they can't afford it. Maybe it is the economy. Maybe that's impacting their ability to give. Or maybe they've shifted their priorities in terms of what they support. Now, sometimes these things are true. They do indeed happen, but often that is not the main reason that they stop giving. See, I say this all the time, donors don't just give to organizations, they're giving because of a relationship with you. And sometimes that relationship, even if they're giving transactionally, they do feel some connection to the organization. But your major donors, they're giving primarily because of a relationship with you. So when giving stops, that's usually the reason. It has to do with the relationship and not just the financial. Because typically, when it is something financial, you're going to hear from your donor. And your donor is going to call. I've had many conversations over the years with donors who have called and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to do what I did last year for whatever reason. Something came up, good or bad, whether it was, a loss of a job or a family wedding that's coming up that is requiring them to shift their finances elsewhere. But usually you will get a heads up. But if a donor stops giving and it's without notice, it's usually because of the relationship. So, what does this look like? Donors stop giving, especially if the only time they hear from you is around a campaign, a fundraising campaign, annual campaign. And communication with them is generic. They're only getting the standard emails that everybody's getting. And there's no relationship, no real relationship being built. Yes, maybe you've secured a $5,000, $10,000 gift from them, but it's really critical that you sustain that relationship with them and not rely on the automated connections and communications to substitute for that, because it's not a substitute at all. What you don't want is for donors to feel, and this is how they do feel, like a transaction, right? I often talk about transactional fundraising, and you can make relational fundraising or relationship fundraising become transactional when you stop staying connected with them. And what you want them to feel like that this is still a partnership and not a transaction. So if the only time donors hear from you is when you need something, then the relationship was never that strong to begin with. See, this is about serving your donors. This is about keeping them engaged, keeping them connected without asking. That it should happen over the course of 10 months out of a 12-month year. And the reason I say 10 months is that when we get to month 11, that's when you start to reposition and start to lean back into soliciting their next gift for the following year or the year that you're in. And I'm not talking about a calendar. I'm not saying October, right? What I'm saying is their giving cycle. So if they made a gift in February, then in December, you're going to make that shift from staying connected with them casually through emails, phone calls, coffees, whatever those things may be. And we're not talking about a lot of contact, but we are talking about consistent contact that's genuine and has no expectations. And in fact, contact that is sharing with them great news about what is happening at your organization. A simple photo of the people that you serve, if it is okay to do that, engaging with your staff. See, that's you're conveying the return on their investment of their gift. And they love to see that. And you can thank them again. Maybe they gave money to a particular campaign to build a playground or to build a ropes course or to build a new facility. And when that project is underway, you may take some photos and send it to them and say, hey, project is we've broken ground. We're excited. Thank you again. See, it's very easy and it happens very often that once we secure that large gift, we move on to the next large gift and we forget, not intentionally, but we forget that this was about a relationship and we need to sustain that relationship. And so we have to be very careful that we don't fall into these pitfalls, right? Lack of meaningful connection is the first pitfall that I just talked about. The second pitfall is that there's no clear impact, right? They don't feel that. Donors give, but they never really see what's changed. This is why I suggest that you keep them informed. And a simple photo, my gosh, especially if you have their cell phone number and you send them a text message of a photo. Hey, this is great. We're glad the project is done. Kids are playing on the playground. Send them a picture of that. Thank them again. Keep them informed also of some of the bigger things, even in the form of a report. So, keeping the language that they speak in mind, whether it's head versus heart, right? Are they thinkers or are they feelers? Are they going to be more excited to hear about data? Uh, then share that with them. Where are you on your fundraising journey and your goals? How's the organization doing? You may want to, for your major donors, keep them informed that way with a quarterly update, high level, that lets them know some of the great things that are happening. It's not something you're going to publicly share in a newsletter for everybody, but this is just for your insiders 4 times a year. And you can give them updates that are based on outcomes and data, and you can also include updates about projects and impact and testimonials. These are all great ways to keep folks informed, but you've got to have a system that works, and it has to be personable. So when I say a quarterly email, there's a couple ways to do this. Yes, you can do it as an automatic email that goes to a a list of people who fall into that criteria of being a major donor, or sending off those emails personally with those updates. Maybe there's an email you send, and there's a link to a page that has an update specifically for them to review. Lots of things that you can do. But you want to share with them information about some specific things that are happening so that it doesn't always feel like it's vague and that there's distance between them and the mission. Because if you don't do that, then that's when they start to disconnect, and they don't feel as though there's much meaning for them when that distance occurs, when there's that gap in connection. See, donors give because they care deeply. It doesn't matter whether they're head or heart, thinkers or feelers. They care because they give rather because they want to make a difference. They give because they care about your mission, and whatever motivates them, well, you certainly should be aware of that and lean into that. But what's most important is that they hear from you, and they hear from you on behalf of the mission, even if it's just a simple hello, thinking about you. How are things going? We're having a great summer. We're having a great program year. We're having a whatever it may be, whatever you want to celebrate. Third pitfall is weak and or absent leadership, right? There's no clear visions, and so they're not clear on where you're taking the organization as an executive director. And so when there's no clarity, then there's really no passion because there's nothing to be excited about because they're not clear, and you're not taking the opportunity to invite them in to a deeper relationship with you, a deeper partnership with you, so that they can ask the questions they want to ask and learn more about the great things that you're doing. If you're leaving them to sort of figure it out, well, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. And so it's really, really important that you stay connected to your donors. It's very, very easy to fall off. Life is busy. You as a leader are busy. Things happen. But once a day, just once a day, one donor a day, Or if that's too much, 3 donors a week. Reach out to them personally to say hello, give them a quick update. Doesn't have to be a full blown report. Just even if you say it's a great day here and our kids are doing wonderfully, and I just wanted to let you know that the person that you met when you were on the tour, remembers you well and is thriving, and wanted to make sure that I said hello to you. Right. And those things are going to happen. Right. Particularly if you start bringing people to your organization, if this is appropriate to do in terms of showing donors how your mission works. But you want to make sure you have that consistent communication. And finally, the last pitfall goes to something I talk about often, and that is the discomfort with the ask itself. So we pull away, even if we've gotten through the ask, even if we've secured a $5,000 gift, a $10,000 gift, we think, whew, that's over. Now I can focus on the things that I do well, the things I'm comfortable with. Because let's face it, as executive directors, and I say this often, you did not get into this job to be a fundraiser. You got into this job because you care deeply about a particular mission and the impact that it's having on the people that are being served by it, and you want to lead that organization. Well, fundraising is part of that leadership. And the sooner you can embrace that as a significant priority in terms of what you have to do, and not think about it as something over here that's separate, which often happens. Oh, we've got a mailing coming up. Oh, we've got an event coming up. Right? We silo fundraising. Fundraising should be wholly integrated into the organization, and not just by those who are responsible for fundraising. Because everybody should be aware that there's fundraising happening in the organization. Doesn't matter who it is, because everybody plays a role. Not in asking, but just by doing the work that they do, especially if they're front facing and interacting with the people that you serve, that plays a significant role in fundraising, especially if you're bringing donors into your organization to see your mission in action. They may have nothing to do with even interacting with the donor, and obviously they're not asking, but because they're doing their work so well, that's part of the investment that donors are thinking about, because they see what your staff is doing. And if your staff is doing good work, that speaks to you as a leader. And so fundraising is a big part of leadership. And so when we have this discomfort with the ask, then we tend to back away from all aspects of fundraising just because we're not comfortable. And we have to get to that point. You may never be fully comfortable. No one gets fully comfortable. I have been at this for a very long time, and I've had many moments when I was uncomfortable. In fact, every ask I've ever made was uncomfortable. But I knew that I had to do it because it wasn't about me. It wasn't even about my boss. It was about the mission and the people served by it. And so if you start to notice that you've got donors that are not giving, they've fallen off, take a look at the relationship. Take a look at through, because your transactional givers, they're likely going to give. In fact, it may just be very automatic to them. They get an ask from you in October. They make a gift in November. Maybe it's $100. Maybe the next year it's 125. Those folks are going to be there, but it's transactional. And your job is to convert the transactional givers into relational donors who can make transformational gifts. That is always the objective. Not every transactional giver is going to become a transformational donor or make a transformational gift, but you never know. And so the expectation should be there that everybody can ultimately do that. And the only way you're going to find out is to lean into the relationships as well as doing the research so that you're using your time wisely. So the next time you take a look at your donor list and you see that some names are missing, think about the last time you connected with them personally. Not the email that they got, not the thank you letter that they got. When was the last time you connected with them? Even if it was just a brief email, a brief text message, a brief phone call, a brief cup of coffee. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to keep a $10,000 donor and making sure that that donor not only gives again, but perhaps they give 15,000 the next year and 20,000 the year after that. See, when we maintain the relationship, that's what happens. But when we drop in and out of their lives when it's convenient, then they're going to respond in a way that will reflect how they feel about the relationship with you. So I hope this has been helpful. Relationships matter when it comes to fundraising, especially in the major gift space, because major gifts, for the most part, don't happen without a relationship and without an ask. Because at the end of the day, this fundraising thing, it's not about the dollars at all. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next time.